ready for the next episode. Can't wait to get home and turn my TV on. I'm ready for the next episode. Got my snap shoes off, my remote control. I'm ready for the next episode.
Hi guys, welcome to next episode. I'm your host Nick,
And I'm Jess.
and today we're going to be discussing season 1 of Surface. So we decided to split Surface up into season 1 and season 2, partly because I still haven't finished season 2, but also because I think that they're two individual stories.
Yeah, it goes. Yes, season 2 is very different than season 1.
So I would like to talk about Sophie and her journey in season 1. And I like the show. Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was you introduced me to it. I didn't know about it before. But it brings up a lot of questions about like identity, trust, loss. It's like,
Yeah.
you know how people like, oh, I'm searching for myself. She's literally searching for herself.
She is literally searching for herself, and yeah, it's crazy. So like the plot of the story is this woman kind of wakes up from amnesia after a boating accident, and she's basically relying on her husband and her friends to tell her who she is, and she's trying to figure out her life, which is a very vulnerable place to be in.
Well, I think like to be more specific, it wasn't just a boating accident. She was told that she was trying to commit suicide. So that's one of the things like she's trying to reconcile. She's trying to figure out like, is that true? And if it is true, like what led me to that? Because everyone's telling her your life is so great, your life is so wonderful, so she's trying to understand if everything is so great, like why would I kill myself?
Right.
And what's interesting is I feel like growing up as a Lifetime child, I am like primed to not trust the husband immediately.
Yeah, I definitely from jump was like, no, absolutely not. No,
I'm like,
he's lying.
this is sleeping with the enemy all over again. And so as you meet people in her circle, so she has her husband, I believe his name is Nick. She has a best friend named Caroline.
Somebody she's told is her best friend.
Yes, somebody she's told is her best friend. Nick has a best friend, and his name is Harrison. I wrote these down because
I'm so proud of you. Because I'm like, I knew you didn't know that.
No, I did not know. And then later on in the story, she meets a police officer who has to reintroduce himself several times because every time he introduces himself, he tells her another way in which they are connected. Like he initially introduces himself and says that he's investigating her case. And then she finds out that that's a lie. Or he is, but he's doing it on his own time. And then another point, like she learns other things about their relationship, but we'll get to there.
Yeah.
And so his name is Thomas. His name is Thomas. And then the last person in her little world is her therapist, whose name is Hannah. So I would like to kind of go one by one and tell you why I dislike each and every one of these people.
Okay. Go ahead.
First off, her husband, Nick. The reason why I don't like him is because he is trying to control her and lock her down. Like, I understand his feelings in the sense that you think that your wife just tried to commit suicide. And now she has like this severe memory loss where she doesn't have any long-term memories. And so he is really like concerned, but it comes off as so controlling and so creepy.
It does. It absolutely does come off as very controlling.
She's like a bird in a gilded cage, literally. So she doesn't have a job. She didn't have a job really before she lost her memory. And so like she really just spends her days like just running and occasionally volunteering, but mostly she's just jogging around the city. Like she doesn't have anything to do.
Right.
And I just think that that also like feeds her paranoia. So imagine you've lost your memory and you're trying to figure out what your life is, but you have nothing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your life is her life is so small.
It is.
It's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
So that how do you feel about her husband?
Oh yeah, I didn't trust him from the beginning. And quite honestly, although he did not turn out to be as bad as I thought he was, because I thought he was the worst. Like I'm telling you, had I thought it was his fault. I thought he had tried to kill her. I didn't think she really tried to kill herself. I'm like, he is very controlling. I was scared that he might have been, abusive, all kind of things. But even find out what he was, which was just controlling, and some of that was to protect her from herself. But still, he was still over the top with it. I still didn't like him.
I did not either. Now, neither one of us liked him once we got all of the details. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think the show, though, was trying to redeem him? Like they were trying to make you think that he was like a terrible person. And then when you find out the full story, you're supposed to be like, oh, he wasn't a bad guy after all. Do
Yeah.
you think that that's what the show was trying to say?
I think that is what the show is trying to
But
say.
I don't
And
agree.
I'm like, I never got that. And like, even towards the end of the season, when she does end up kind of leaving him, I don't feel bad for him at all.
I don't. I
I
don't
don't feel
either.
anything for him at all because I'm like, that was not sustainable. You were trying to control her life. I felt like at some point she gets placed in a conservatorship because she can't take care of herself and make decisions for herself, which was true. But like, at the point in which we see her in the show, she should be ready to come out of that, and it just does not seem like he's doing anything that's going to help her get her freedom, um, or to get so where he doesn't have control over everything. He's spying on her because like the one thing, the conservatorship is one thing, and that I guess that would be debatable, but like you following her and watching her on every camera that you can, having cameras in places that she doesn't know about, you know what I mean? That's nothing to do with her safety. That's you being controlling.
Plotting with her therapist, I feel like they were plotting together.
I did too. I didn't trust the therapist either. I felt like he was plotting with the therapist. I didn't like how she consulted with him. Like I know there are rules like when you have an adult who's not technically in control of herself, but I still feel like the therapist gave him way too much information, more than she had to, even with that conservatorship in place. Um, I did not like the way he introduced her to Caroline. Caroline is not her best friend. Caroline is not her best friend. He poses Caroline like she is. Caroline is his friend that he's had for a very long time. She becomes friends with the wife as a part of their relationship, but he also knows that Caroline is secretly in love with him.
Hmm.
And the wife knows, honestly. Even when she had her memory, she knew that. So I just feel like, yes, they had a friendship and they had a friendship outside of him. But when this girl wakes up and doesn't know who she is, and you tell her that's her best friend, that also seems controlling and manipulative.
It is. He wanted everyone to around her to
To
be
afford their
loyal to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, yeah, I thought that I felt like the show was trying to redeem him, but I'm like, he's not redeemable because
He's not.
what you learn, like, as she's learning the truth, and you go through flashbacks, is when they met, she was a waitress, and he was like at the very beginning of his career. And it was
Mm-hmm.
actually her that helped him build his career up to where it is. And once he got in that seat of power, he kind of cut her out of that situation where he no longer let her be involved anymore in creating those business deals, which I thought was very, very shady because
Mm-hmm.
essentially she put anything that she really wanted to do on hold and invested in him.
Yeah.
And
Built
she
him
believed
up.
in him when no one else did.
Yeah. And then he dropped her and then wanted her to just be like a trophy wife after she really is the thing that built his business. Because like essentially she's a con woman. And she uses those skills
Absolutely.
to get him into these him these great business deals by charming them, talking him up, getting people to trust him because he doesn't have that ability. He's good at
No.
managing the money, and then once he gets to a certain place and he doesn't need that anymore, he doesn't need that level of selling. He just drops her, and then she has nothing, and that's part of the reason why I think she's also depressed. She has nothing to do, and she was an integral part of the business, and he made it very clear. Oh, I don't want you to be part of this anymore.
Right. Just sit back. And it's so condescending. Like, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, don't worry, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Just sit back and do nothing. Like, if she was a sit back and do nothing kind of woman, you wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be where you are today.
No, you would not.
You know. So yeah, the husband is trash. And speaking of Caroline, so you find out once again in flashbacks that Caroline and the husband, before he ever met Sophie, they hooked up. I don't think it was a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that they had like fooled around.
No.
And Caroline did tell her
Yeah.
that. And so she knew,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like, one, I think that that's weird. That you still have like this
Mm-hmm.
strong relationship with this woman, because it's very clear that Carolyn is in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not
Very
even a
clear.
question.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think, first of all, I would have never allowed her to be a close friend of mine, because you know she's in love with your husband. But also, it's like, how
Yeah.
can you trust her? How can you confide in her?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that like that's why I feel like it's so manipulative to introduce her as a bit, because like we don't know, we know what Caroline and we know what the guy says their relationship was before. We see glimpses of their friendship, but that doesn't mean that she wasn't friendly with her, but keeping her as at an arm's distance. Because when after she gets amnesia and her and Caroline go on vacation together, and she asks Caroline to tell her about herself, Caroline can't, which tells me that when she had all of her memories, she wasn't that close to you.
I don't
You know what
think
I mean?
Sophie is close to anybody. So no one
I
knows.
don't either.
Her name is not even Sophie.
No,
No
I
one
don't
really
either.
knows
But
her.
like when she had control of herself, so she was friendly to you because she could see you're important to him, but she didn't confide in her because she didn't know anything
Well,
about her.
but also remember that, so you find out like that Sophie is unfaithful in her marriage. And
Mm-hmm.
her husband finds out, and when he finds out, he goes and he sleeps with Carolyn.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sophie finds out about that before the accident, and they agree to stay together, but they agree to keep distance away from Carolyn. So for
Mm-hmm.
him to, what's crazy about that is, she was no longer friends with her. She hadn't seen or talked to her in months. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
introducing her as her best friend? That was shady.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
was
That was
shady.
calculated.
Because even if they were friends at one point, you know that they were no longer friends, and you know exactly why.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think that he did that not even for Sophie, but he wanted to keep Caroline close because he needed her. She was always his backup plan because she's very wealthy, and
Yeah.
you find out that he's in like severe financial debt, like $11 million debt. And so I think he was keeping Sophie as a backup, like keeping Carolyn close
Mm-hmm.
as a backup, because he knew that he may need to get money from her. He did end up like borrowing like $4 million from her.
Yeah. And who has a friend that can borrow $4 million from?
I need one.
Okay.
I need one.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Anyone.
If you have $4 million that you can let me borrow, you can be my friend. And that may sound trifling. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
so Carolyn is also trash. But to me personally, the most trash person is his best friend Harrison.
Okay. You feel
So
like
his
Harrison is the most trash person.
And I'm going to tell you why. His
Okay.
Harrison is his best friend. He's married. He's married to a man. That has nothing to do with why he's trash. Now, Harrison is in love with Nick. Do they discuss it in the show at all?
He is
They
in love
don't.
with that too.
They do not discuss it in the show at all, but it is very, very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Harrison is around Nick, he's constantly putting Sophie down. He's
Yes.
always talking so bad, telling Nick he should leave his wife. He shouldn't, like, she's not good enough for him. He shouldn't put up with her. And, oh my gosh, she's got memory loss. Why are you sticking around? Why are you sticking by her? We also find out Harrison hired a private detective to follow Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we learn throughout the show is the private detective is following Sophie and ends up falling in love with her. and he like creates a little meetup situation, and that is actually who she ends up having an affair with. The police officer she ends up having an affair with, he was working on the side as a private detective, and
Mm-hmm.
he is a stalker. He's a stalker. He
Mm-hmm.
comes in and he says that he pretends to be her savior, but he's really a stalker. And
Mm-hmm.
Harrison brought that man into her life. She would have
Mm-hmm.
never ever, I don't even know if she would have like cheated on her husband necessarily, because she wasn't like really, she was unhappy and she
Mm-hmm.
was trying to figure things out, but I don't think she was like actively really looking for someone to date. I think that was just kind of happenstance. When she was already going through something, she was like a soft target.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that was Harrison. So you hired this private detective who turns out to like stalk the victim, and you don't even say anything. Like, you never like want to admit it to Nick. Like, he is terrible.
Yeah.
He's worse.
Yeah.
Because I even though like Nick the husband is very very controlling, he does have a certain amount of love for Sophie. It's a little bit of obsession.
It is.
Like,
It's a obsession.
like when you see something in somebody that you can never have,
Mm-hmm.
like that, he has that because I think Sophie has like this light that kind of draws people in,
Mm-hmm.
and like people get really attached to her, and he doesn't have that. I
Yeah.
think that's why he's kind of like obsessed with her, because honestly, at this point, I don't think that there's anything that Sophie could do where Nick would not be with her.
No.
Because like you find out that she was unfaithful.
Mm-hmm.
You also found out that the $11 million he's in debt, she stole from him. She
Yeah.
conned it out of him, and he
She
knows
did.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
he still is like he's just trying to make the money, bring the money back. He still wants to be with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he
It's like
finds.
a possession thing, though. He wants to possess. He wants her in his possession. That's how he treats her to me.
Mhm. Yeah, very much. It's like that he's like, she's like this rare exotic bird that no one else can have.
Mm-hmm.
But he puts up with a lot.
He does, because she's not like. So this is the thing with Harrison, like to do, especially before the amnesia. He is right. Sophie is a bad person, and she is dragging him down. You know what I mean? I still don't care for Harrison either, but he is right and about his concerns about how the effect that Sophie's having on Nick's life. He spots
Well,
her as a con artist at first. He
okay.
admits that he's a bad person. He said, like, because like the way he wills and does business is not on the up and up, but he's just one of those who's just straight up. Like, he's like, I'm shiesty. But he treats Nick like he's this golden boy that's perfect, and that himself and Sophie are like the scum of the earth that don't deserve him.
But can I say this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nick would not be where he was without Sophie. Is she
No,
a
he
con
wouldn't.
artist? Yes. She was using her powers for good until he cut her off.
Mm-hmm.
And so now she doesn't have any access. She doesn't have any power in the relationship. And so her stealing that money, yes, it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, he wouldn't have even had access to that level of money if it was not for her. So
Agreed.
although like Harrison thinks that she's like the worst, he doesn't understand that she was like being her best self with Nick initially,
Mm-hmm.
until Nick turned on her. And then she's like, she's a better villain than anybody.
She is.
So, so I mean,
He's
he
better at
bought
this
it
than both of you.
right. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of blame that on like Nick, that she kind of turned on him. And I wonder if Harrison's like constant bad mouthing of her
Mm-hmm.
is one of the reasons why Nick started trying to cut her out of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, would you be friends with someone who's constantly bad mouthing your spouse every time you talk to them?
No, no.
It's weird, right?
It is weird. It is weird. I don't know. At that last party where Sophie is conning, and it's at the point where she really doesn't need to con anymore because he's gotten to such a level of success, but she's still doing it. I felt like I saw jealousy in his eyes, in the husband's eyes.
Because of the way she talks to men.
Not jealous, but not like that. Jealous of her ability to do what she does.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think so. I think that's
So
part of
I
his
think
obsession.
Yeah, I think that motivation to kind of turn her to shut her down was because he was jealous of her.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, but like yeah, Harrison's bad mouthing doesn't help, but he dismisses the stuff he knows she does.
Like he also, so I Nick understands that Harrison hates Sophie so much that when he tells Harrison about the money going missing, he never tells her it was Sophie. He never tells him it was Sophie that took
Oh
it,
wow.
because he know Harrison would immediately went to the
Oh, he would have
police
rolled her over. He would have rolled, yeah, so quickly.
immediately. So even Nick
He knows
knows
they don't like each
Harrison is
other.
trash.
Yeah, he knows they don't like each other because when he realizes that Harrison is responsible for the death of her side piece, he doesn't tell her. He lets her think it was him.
Right.
For that same reason, he was like, "Oh no, these two will roll over on each other in a minute."
Which is very, very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you playing man in the middle between your best
Your wife
friend?
and your best friend.
Right. Especially when they like, it's like he's in the middle of like this weird triangle. Like
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn's in love with him, but he don't really want her.
Is it
Harrison
a
is in love with him,
triangle?
but he don't want Harrison. Sophie likes him, but he's obsessed with her. Like she does, like she likes
He
Nick.
likes him.
I don't think she loves him.
I don't either. I don't know that she has the ability to love.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But
so in the beginning,
I
oh,
still like her better than all of them, though.
I do too. Oh, I'm still on my everybody. I hate everybody on the show, but her,
For
like
her,
her
and she
therapist.
is not a good person.
She's
But
not.
but I still like her. She's likable. That's how charming she is. There.
So the therapist. Now, of course, I don't know the rules the way that you know the rules when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to therapy, professionalism, what's okay to do, what's not to do. One
Mm-hmm.
thing I can't figure out is we get to watch like her therapy sessions like throughout the show. I don't understand what the therapist's goal is. Like with
Mm-hmm.
the way she talks to her, the
She's
questions she asks her, I don't understand what she's trying to do.
she's trying to get her to accept that she committed suicide because Sophie is trying to figure out in what really happened. She's struggling with it, accepting that. And Sophie says a line that is so good to me to the therapist. And she was like, the therapist basically asked her, when are you going to, take accountability for what you did? And she was like, it's hard to take accountability for something you don't remember doing. And I'm like, that is a really good point.
It makes sense. And so that's what I'm saying. I don't really understand the therapist,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like the therapist will not consider anything other than she was trying to commit suicide.
Right.
Even if she jumped from the boat, that doesn't necessarily mean she was trying to kill herself.
Right.
And so for the therapist to be so rigid and like forcing her to like agree to something that we don't even know is true. She doesn't know if she
Mm-hmm.
was pushed or not, or she doesn't know if she did jump, what the reason was. And also, if she can't remember anything that happened before,
Mm-hmm.
why does she have to like accept that?
I don't know.
I don't understand what that does for her.
Mm-hmm. I guess part of it, and I'm not saying I agree with the therapist, I don't in this case, but like I think she was trying to get her to stop doing some of the more dangerous things, trying to find out what happened, and like stop some of the what appeared to the therapist as erratic or sporadic behavior in trying to find out. But like to me, it was like no, she's just genuinely trying to piece together what happened. But so I think she thought if she accepts that this is what happened, then she'll stop doing all this craziness to try to figure out and go into these alternative treatments. All of which I was like, if she wants to go that bad, all you gotta do is tell her what your concerns, and then you still let her make the decision.
Right.
Like I'll be like, listen, X, Y, Z, dang, dang, kablang, diggity, diggity, down. Now do what you want to do.
Right.
You know what I
But
mean? I'm gonna be
it just,
here with you regardless.
to me,
You
her
get back.
therapist should have spent her time trying to help her move forward. Like, how do you like help her create a new identity
Mm-hmm.
and to deal and grieve with the loss of her memories and who she was?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just
Yeah,
didn't
very
seem
much.
like that the therapist was interested in helping her become a complete person again.
Yeah. No, everybody's and I can't say like I've never had a loved one go through this. So like I kind of understand the lay people, but it was frustrating to watch everybody trying to force her back to this person that she was. And I do
Hmm.
think that that's what would have happened outside of the therapist. I think everybody would try to push you back into who they knew you to be. But I'm like, but it's so obvious. Like, she's never going to be that person again. She's, you know what I mean? Like, let her figure out who she is from this point forward.
Because the gag is she was never that person to begin with. She was pretending.
That is the funny part. That's why, and that is why they really don't know her. It's because she was pretending.
And so it's like, to me, it seems like, yes, she lost all her memories, but she has like remained her core self. Like,
Hmm.
she's still a con person. She's
Oh
still a
yeah, she
grifter.
still has the ability to calm,
She still strategizes. She still can like make
manipulate
people
people.
like, right, and make people just like want to help her and do for her. She, all of those things, her core self, it stayed. It
Hmm.
stayed. And all of the window dressings that she had put on, they're all gone.
Right, and that's the thing. Is like, so people, since people really don't know her because she really didn't have any close friends, because she's a con artist, people are trying to get her to go back to the facade that they knew.
The funny thing is, but she doesn't even know that. Like, she can't understand that because
Hmm.
she doesn't remember who she was to know
Hmm.
that the person that they knew was not real. So I'm gonna tell you, like, my favorite quote
Hmm.
that she said was, it's hard not knowing your own secrets.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and I was like,
so,
damn, bars.
yeah, right. But for
Hmm.
real, bars. Like, and so
Hmm.
as she's going in, so she, I feel like her recovery was going pretty good until Thomas, the police officer, showed back up and
Hmm.
basically was like, hey, I think your husband has something to do with this. I'm investigating the case and you're not safe. And
Hmm.
then that caused her to start looking for things. And you know, when you're looking for something, you will find it because you
Hmm.
will twist and manipulate things to fit what you already like have going
Hmm.
on. So she has her husband who's being very controlling,
Hmm.
and she just doesn't fit in with what they told her her life was. And her husband's also not truthful about a lot of things
Yeah, he's
because
not.
he's trying to erase his like all of their past mistakes and move
Marital issues.
forward
Yeah,
by lying, which
they were
is
not in a good place when of course, and he's trying to erase all that and the fact that he cheated and all that kind of stuff. He kind of gets a do over in that way. I will say this: I think the reason why the police officer showing up was so effective is because she already had a sense that something was off with her husband. She just couldn't put her finger on it. So him
mhm,
coming in and giving her, she was like, I knew something was wrong with this man. I knew something was wrong with this, And it just, I think it ignited something that was already there because she already was lying to him because she knew that she couldn't be, even about basic stuff because she knew she couldn't tell him the truth about, where she would go. Like when the therapist tells her to go out of town with him. And she was like, yeah, she said we need time apart. I was rolling.
right.
I was
Yeah,
rolling.
she did spin that one actually really well because she set the therapist up. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, like I've been having the same routine every day. I just need some fresh air. Like, she really set the therapist up. And
Hmm.
what I loved about the scene is when she talked to her husband, she said the things that she said the therapist said were correct. They were true. That's, the therapist really did say it, but she flipped the context.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that woman is good.
She's good.
She really is good. She flipped that context
Hmm.
really, like, to get away from him. Which, though, and it's crazy that she shouldn't have had to even lie to do it.
Yeah, but she knew that she did because, like, I'm like, her instincts that something is off with her husband was right. It just what was off was wrong because it's not okay for your husband to spy on you and have that much control over you. Like, that
Right.
is weird. I don't care that you in a conservatorship. Like, nobody has a right to be looking at you on cameras all day.
You know what is so funny to me? I wonder
Hmm.
if when she woke up from her coma, if he would have just been honest and forthright with her, what would have happened? If he would have been like,
Hmm.
I'm so thankful that you were alive. We were in such a bad place, but this situation, if these are the things that I did wrong, and I think maybe I pushed you to want to do that, and I'm so sorry, and let's work on things, let's start anew. But if he
Right.
would have just like been transparent and open from the beginning, I think
Yeah.
she wouldn't have that feeling of mistrust for him.
That's true because he's not a good liar. Because part of the reason why she even starts, conning for him is because he's trying to do it and make himself bigger, but it's not working because he's bad at it. So, like,
Hmm.
it's obvious that you're lying and you're not telling the whole truth because you're not good at this.
He
But she
lies
just
about
didn't know what
stupid
about.
stuff.
He does lie about stupid stuff.
Like lying about a conference that you say you go to every
Every
year
year,
and you don't, when that's
which
such an
sounds play.
easy question like that come
Hmm.
on, man.
And if she had you not walked, she almost got that information without you.
Hmm. Like I'm like, sir, you
Mhm.
need to always tell the truth. You're a
And
terrible liar.
And that's the other thing. Is like, so since you didn't push her, why you lie about the conference?
Because he, once again, he was trying to pretend like everything was so great. He was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be there, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't go.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to, I think at that point he knew she stole the money.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
So what we find out is Sophie's real name is Tess Caldwell, and she's basically she's a con artist. She's a scammer.
Mm-hmm.
And so her plan was that she was going to take that $11 million and she was going to go off and like live a new life without him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nick had found out about her infidelity and in turn cheated with Carolyn, and but she was like playing a cool hand, like, oh, we can work it out, we can figure it out, as she's trying to escape with the money. And the way that she convinces him to give the money is she tells him that she's found like a business opportunity, and it's so ground floor that no one can know.
Mm-hmm.
And because she has spent so many, like all of this time hooking him up with like the best business people and building his career, like he believed it so easily. Which
Mm-hmm.
$11 million, like if my
Mm-hmm.
husband bought me a business opportunity and he needed $1,000, there would be so many questions, like
Mm-hmm.
questions upon questions. So $11 million, and it's not even your money. He took
Mm-hmm.
money he basically embezzled the money
From his
from his
firm.
company because they did not know he was investing in this business that she literally made up.
Mm-hmm. Well,
She
no, it was a real
literally,
business because, like, she was masterful. She had him investigate the real business because even the way she played him, because at this point she knows that he doesn't want her to be as competent as she is. So she dangles the carrot, and then she's like, "Oh, but you know more about these things. Here's the company. You take a look. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this girl is
so then how did
phenomenal.
she get the money if the business was real?
The business was real because, like, she was the intermediary, though.
Mm.
So, like, whatever accounts that he had her put it in, like, did not go to the people. Because remember, that dude was pissed with him. That the actual the guy who actually had the company
I
was mad at him.
forgot about
Right, there
that.
was a real person. This was a real company. She just that money never got there, and so, like, their investment actually fell through because they were waiting on his $11 million.
Mm,
And so
mm,
when
mm,
he
mm.
met that guy in person, he was like, "Oh, I'm so happy to meet you." He's like, "F you, man. You screwed me." That's how he finds out that she took the money. He's thinking that they got the money, and yeah, and then she created a whole account for herself and got that money in that account.
So basically, Thomas has convinced her that her husband has stolen the money and that maybe that could be motive on why he pushed her. He's also convinced that, that he pushed her. And so what's hilarious is that the two of them are hardcore investigating the husband. Like she's disabling the alarm so Thomas can go through the house. She's recording his conversations,
Mm-hmm.
like they are hardcore, like on the verge of busting the husband.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very last minute, she figures out that it was her that stole the money. And what made that scene so hilarious? So the husband and wife were at a party, and Thomas was at their house, like conducting an investigation, trying to get evidence. She ends up leaving the party, and Nick assumes that she has gone home. So he goes home to try to find her, and he runs into Thomas. And he knows that Thomas is the one sleeping with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them are there. Neither one of them leave. They are waiting all night for her to get there. And they are actually standing out in front of the house when she gets there, which in and of itself is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Is insane.
Mm-hmm.
She comes home. She walks
It
past
doesn't, the
Thomas
sunshine.
like he's not even there.
Like she
She
don't even
walks
know
past
him.
Thomas like he is not even there, and like basically tells Nick, "Go in the house. Come on, let's go." And he does.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of looks at Thomas like,
Right.
And so she goes in there and she's like, am I trifling?
Was it me the whole time?
And so at that point, like she kind of drops Nick, and that's when she drops Thomas, and that's when Thomas like really goes into full blown stalker mode and yada yada yada. Thomas ends up dead, but he knew that she was married.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew she was married to like a rich, powerful man.
Yeah.
I don't know why he ever thought that she would run away to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
He is nobody, and he has nothing. And if he was a good private detective, he would know that she was a con artist. He would have figured that out. And then he would have really known that she would have never left him.
Mm-hmm.
So he is either
not for him anyway. He is okay. I'm telling you, he is a terrible cop. He is a terrible cop because like so many times he abuses his power. You know what I mean? Like to get whatever he wants. Like he's one of those like if I'm doing it in the name of the law, so it's okay, even though all the stuff you're doing is illegal. And I'm not talking about him being a drug dealer, but like he's like in getting other people to do stuff that's illegal at their job for this investigation that he's not supposed to be doing for Sophie, all kind of stuff. So yeah, he's a bad cop.
I'm gonna tell you, police who feel like they can do whatever to solve a case, I call them detective staplers.
Mm-hmm. No, he's a total stapler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And so I'm like, oh, I don't feel bad for you. You actually deserve that. And so Sophie, though, is really upset because she thinks that Nick killed the police officer. And she's really upset, but I don't buy it. I think that because she uses that when she writes Nick his Dear John letter, she uses the fact that she thinks he killed the cop as the reason. I think that she's lying.
Yeah.
She just wanted to go. And she's like, this will work.
This will work. This seemed like good enough reason.
And he's reading this letter and he's like, if she came back today, he would take her back. Like, I'm waiting for him to like pop up on her. Because he is obsessed with her. Mm-hmm. He needs to go talk to Hannah. He needs to talk to the therapist.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a different one. But yeah.
Yeah, Hannah loves him though. Maybe she'll give him good care. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Everybody seemed to fall in love with Nick and Sophie, so who knows? Hannah might be in love with him too.
Maybe.
Everybody is in love with both of them.
Based on her haircut, I would have thought she would have been in love with Sophie, but you never know.
No, she definitely. I don't even know that she likes Sophie. I feel like she don't.
Sophie does irritate her.
They irritate each other. That's why I'm like, at this point, why you ain't requested another therapist? Because they cannot stand each other. And it's beyond just the, therapists challenge you sometimes, and that does piss people off. And that is part of their job to challenge you about stuff. But like, it's beyond that. They don't like each other.
No,
and
she doesn't.
It's not productive at this point.
Right, that's what I'm saying. She doesn't get anything out of those sessions. I don't know. So here, let me ask you a question, because I feel very strongly about this. Mm-hmm. Is there ever a situation where it's okay to put someone in conservatorship?
Yeah, there are situations where there are people who absolutely cannot make decisions for themselves.
It just seems like every time you hear about conservatorship, somebody is getting screwed over. And I feel like we need something else.
Well, that's
We
because
need
those are
we
the
need
ones that
something
you hear
else.
about. You don't hear about the ones that are functioning the way that they're supposed to function, because why would you?
Mm,
And that doesn't mean that that it still doesn't need a an overhaul, but like they are absolutely adults who cannot and will never be able to make decisions for themselves,
mm-hmm.
and it would be a detriment to them and everybody else for them to do that. And those
Maybe
are supposed to
like
be the cases that get have them.
I think it maybe there needs to be like some sort of team, but
Hmm.
where people are independent from each other. Because it
Hmm.
just seems like anytime there's a conservatorship, people work together to siphon from that person and keep
Hmm.
them like locked up. And like, how do we mitigate
Hmm.
that piece of it?
I don't know, because like and everything, there are going to be people who take advantage and do things the wrong way. Like, you know what I mean? Whenever bad people have power, it's an issue. And so I've seen it go wrong in all the ways, whether it's a family member in charge or when it's like somebody the state has assigned to be in charge. And if you've got a person who is going to abuse their power in that position, they're going to abuse their power in that position. I think there needs to be a review process, and I like, you know, maybe every few years or every something like that, or a way that the person who was under conservatorship can request, which they're supposed to be, but it just seems so hard for them to do that. Like that maybe needs to be able to be made easier. But there absolutely are people who do not have the ability to make decisions for themselves. And if you give those people, you know, if you allow them to, and especially if they have access to money, they're sometimes going to make decisions that are dangerous for everyone. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
again, if it's working like it's supposed to, you don't hear about it. You're going to hear about the
Okay.
ones that are not.
So maybe there needs to be like an independent advocate,
Yeah.
like someone who is outside of the conservatorship, who like meets with the person like monthly, talks to
Mhm.
them, and is like their advocate.
Yeah. I
It
agree with
needs
that.
something. There's
No,
some
the
like
system
something's
definitely
wrong.
needs overhaul, and there's definitely and especially in like the higher profile or the cases where people, because like everybody who's under something like this does not have a lot of money, and
Hmm.
so you don't hear about it. You hear about the ones where people have an insane amount of money. Um, you know, so like yeah, like those are the ones that you hear about, and those are the people who, well, they're not the only ones who get taken advantage of. I think they get taken advantage of in different ways, but like yeah, there needs to be something where somebody who has nothing to gain can review that process, can listen, can be an advocate for that person, has some knowledge of whatever the reason, whether it's a mental health or developmental delay kind of issue. You have a knowledge over what that is, so you at least know, are familiar with what those person's limitations are. You know what I mean? Because they're just, there's a lot of there's a lot of potential issues with this. So yeah, and someone that they can reach out to if they're being abused, if they're being harmed, if they're ready to, or like Sophie's, which should have always been temporary, because she was going to get back to the point where she could care for herself. Whether or not she gets her memories back doesn't matter. She's a functional adult at this point.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there, I'm guessing that there was some point where she really couldn't, you know, either, you know, make decisions for herself. Like she was just like that unclear to where he had to do that and he was able to do that. But it should have always been temporary for her, because she was definitely going to get back to the point where she could make decisions for herself. And to me, she's at that point when we meet her.
So what's weird is he's like, oh, it's so hard. You have to get lawyers involved and all of this to
Mhm.
take it apart. Was it
So
easy to put it together?
yeah. So what? Let's get all of them. And that bothers me more than anything. That bothers me with him, of course, but he's so controlled. Of course, he's not going to release it, and he is using this to completely control every bit of her life and to keep her with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, but to me, the therapist, that's one thing that she could have started advocating for, because yeah, part of this is you evaluating that this person is now able to care for themselves and make decisions for themselves. So I'm like, why wouldn't you tell your client, okay, you might want to consider getting, starting to file paperwork to get out of this conservatorship, because at this point, you may not have all your memories back, but you can function as an adult. You can make decisions for yourself. You're not a danger to yourself at this point.
When she said she wanted to like buy some dresses, and he's like, "Oh, I can take you shopping," like that was
Girl, I
so
was so
creepy.
pissed. I was so pissed. I was like, oh no, no, you want to control every aspect of this woman's life. No.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so
Because he
that's
could have easily just given her a credit card and said, "Here you go."
or the money or anything. But no, he wants to know where she is at all points in time. He's constantly spying on her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a whole problem.
It is.
And she
It is.
doesn't, and because her relationship with her therapist is so bad, she doesn't trust her enough to even tell her any of that stuff.
Right. I agree. Her relationship with her therapist, I hate.
And okay, so this is something that they said, and then it kind of, to me, they never fully went back and explained. You may not even see in season 2, I question this, but I don't want to reveal anything. Okay, so at some point they tell her that her mother was schizophrenic, basically, and so it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh,
So
she's going to have to.
I've seen, I think, episode 1 and part of episode 2. So I know, like, her mom, she thinks that her mom was like murdered or something.
Yeah, she does think that her mom is murdered, but I also don't think that her
They
mom
do
is
say that.
schizophrenic.
So, but didn't Hannah tell her that in season 1 that she had a history of mental illness or something in her
She did,
family?
based on the fact that her mom was schizophrenic, which I think she got that information from the husband, which I think is inaccurate.
You think he just made it up?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I
that
don't
if
put it
she
past him.
starts, and which she eventually does, starts, she alludes to the fact that she's not trusting James, and then to me, Hannah writes it off as, oh, you possibly got paranoia, and these treatments that you got that you're not supposed to get could lead to paranoia and psychosis, which also I'm like, okay, whatever. But Hannah is basing that on a history that I think that James told her, which I think is a lie.
Nick.
That's his name, Nick or James?
His name
Who's
is Nick.
James? Nick. Okay.
I don't know. I think you made James up.
Okay, girl, I've been calling that man James. He look like a James to me. But
So, okay, so what would you do if you were in Sophie's shoes, where you essentially have lost your memories, and as you pieced it together, you found out that you were actually like a terrible person? Like, how do you move on from that?
girl, I honestly would have probably handled the way she handled it. Like, as in, I'm out this piece. He's never going to leave her alone. Her husband is controlled. First of all, the first thing I would have done was get out that conservatorship. Like,
Mhm.
from the point that I understand that I'm in one, I am advocating on all levels to get out of that conservatorship with my therapist. And if you won't help me, I'm getting a new therapist. If you won't help me, I'm going to the press. I'm going to do everything, because at this point, nobody can substantiate that I cannot make decisions for myself and I cannot have access to my own money.
Mhm.
So that's one. Step one, I'm getting out the conservatorship. If I cannot get out that conservatorship, then I'm handling it just the way she handled it.
Because it's like, do you really need to get out the conservatorship when it's based on somebody who you actually are not? Like, she's
Well,
not
that's
really
true.
Sophie.
That's true. Like, if I was planning on, that's true. That's true. That's true. So either way, like, but like, I'm getting away from that man.
Mhm.
I'm getting away from that man. That man, if he's not abusive now, he going to, because like, once he realizes he can't control every aspect of your life, it ain't got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, I just think that, like, if I found out that I was like a terrible person, I would want to just leave and start over, start fresh,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out, okay, yes, I used to be a terrible person, but let me
Who am I
start my
now?
life over and let's see who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
I still may be,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, but let me just see. I just don't see, I don't see how I could like stay in that situation, because honestly, like, watching the show, I felt like I was suffocating a little bit
Mm-hmm.
at times.
Yeah,
It was very like,
he's
she was
suffocating.
so isolated.
Yeah, he's suffocated. And that's part of the problem too. Like I said, the therapist seems like she's listening to the husband more than she's listening to her own client. All of you people that you've been told your friends are not your friends, they're your husband's friends. You don't have anybody. So one, she might even have to make a new friend and establish a relationship so that she just has somebody else that can also help advocate for her, because
Hmm.
all of your connections are his connections.
Right.
So, or do what she did, which is fake her own death and take your behind back to London.
Faking your own death is wildly dramatic,
Mm-hmm.
especially like stealing $11 million from your husband and then faking your death. Like, I
I
just feel
wasn't
like
mad
that
at none
maybe
of
there
it.
was another way to solve her problems.
I wasn't mad at none of it. I really
But
wasn't.
it's obvious though that she's a runner, because one of the things you
Mm-hmm.
find out about her, as she does get some memories from going to, like, what was that thing? What was this? Was it hypnosis? What was that?
No, it was even more experimental than that. Because I'm like, I don't think the therapist wouldn't have had an issue with hypnosis. It was something crazy. I can't
Because
remember.
she went to hypnosis first, and
Hmm.
then she went up to the next place.
Then she
I'm
went to
just like,
biofeedback, but neither the hypnosis nor the biofeedback were places that upset the therapist. It was that other experimental treatment that I cannot remember what the heck they were doing to her. Was it the sensory deprivation?
I don't know.
They started with sensory deprivation and they did something else.
Because I honestly
I
thought
never
that
heard
she
of that.
was just wasting her money.
I ain't never heard of it, but it helped more memories come back.
It did. And so one of the memories that she found out was that she liked to ride horses and also that she likes to kiss girls,
Hmm.
which I thought was hilarious because I'm like, that's why you don't really like Nick for real. He's not even your type.
I
So
think she
I'm
missed the
just like,
opportunity.
she needs to like run. And but you also find, I think she also finds out that she runs from situations
Hmm.
when things get hairy.
Yeah. But I just don't feel like I feel like Nick was going to fight her on that conservatorship. And since you don't have any money, you don't have any friends, and you don't have any family, it is really hard to advocate for yourself in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think running was her best option.
Hmm. Yeah, because I'm like,
So
you could have played. I guess you could have played devil's advocate, got on Hannah's good side, and then slowly turned her against James and got her to start advocating for you. That's a long con because Hannah can't
that
stand her.
is, she really can't. No. Mm-mm. I think it would be easier to convince Thomas before he was dead that Nick
That would
tried
have
to
been
beat
worse,
her up, and then Thomas would have killed him.
or had him arrested or something like that.
And yeah, I
Um,
think that
Yeah,
would have
you
been
know
better.
what? Thomas would have been her only advocate, but then she stuck with Thomas, and it's like you're jumping from, but she's not legally bound to Thomas, so that still would have been a better. Like, okay, let's say if you're gonna stay in your own life and stay in this identity, Thomas
Mm-hmm.
is the best advocate. You get him arrested, get him out of the situation because also nobody knows necessarily that you stole the $11 million, and unless they found that account with her name on it, which
Right.
might have come out in the investigation. But you know what I mean? Like she could have got him to go to jail, got the house, got everything. Actually, yeah, Thomas is her best advocate.
Mm-hmm.
The
But the
only
problem is he's going to want to move into that house.
he is going to want to move in the house. And the thing is, you get out of that conservatorship because then once he gets arrested, he can no longer be your conservator. You get out of that
Mm-hmm.
conservatorship, you get your husband away, locked up. I don't care if he stay locked up or not. You get out. You are not legally bound to Thomas. The thing is that you never marry Thomas. You can never marry Thomas because when you done, when you got everything you need to go, you need to be able to move.
Right.
But that's her only advocate.
Mm-hmm. Rough lady. Rough,
Yeah, so I
rough
mean, like you know
waters.
what I mean. Like none of the choices were great, and all of them involved her continuing to con.
This show had me stressed because like all of the information was pointing that everybody was out to get her, everybody was lying to her, which yes, everybody
And
was
they
lying.
were.
Everybody was lying to her,
Hmm.
but really she was out to get everybody else and to get her freedom. She was
Hmm.
moving these people around like chess pieces,
Right.
you know?
So, which brings me to my question: do you think she really tried to kill herself?
No.
No, I don't either. I feel like
There was
I
not.
thought
I thought that I thought that they explained why she
did they explain
jumped.
it? Because my assumption was I think she was trying to fake her own death the first time too,
I think it was
and then she
something
got
about there
caught up
was
in
an
that propellant.
island she was trying to get to.
Okay, and then she jumped too soon or at the wrong point.
Yeah,
Because
I
that's what
don't
I
know.
think
Like
happened.
I felt like she wasn't trying to kill herself when she
I don't feel like she was
jumped.
trying to kill herself
I
either.
didn't
I think she
fully
was trying.
understand why she needed to jump because I
Hmm.
mean, I think like you can jump off like a small boat and be okay. But like when you jump off like big ships, like cruise ships and ferries, I think like the force that you hit the water, it messes your body up. So I don't think she really was like thinking it
Hmm.
through.
Well, I think she didn't count for the propeller because what happened was I think she was trying to fake her own death that time and get away with the $11 million. But what happened, what you see is like the propeller like sucks her in, and then she ends up hitting her head on the propeller, and that's why she lost her memory. So I think she was trying to fake her death the first time and didn't jump off at the right spot and didn't account for the propeller at the bottom of the ship pulling her in.
I just think that jumping off of a ferry without doing a hell of a lot of research is crazy. It's crazy. Because also the water seemed a little rocky. Like it just did not. Like
it was yeah. Both choppy and like there are little chunks of rock in it. Like, yeah, no, this was not a good plan. I get why you had to, and because James is so obsessed, Nick, that man's name is Nick, is so obsessed that he wouldn't have stopped looking for her if he didn't think she was dead. She couldn't.
The way I would have like cut myself and just put a whole bunch of blood, because it was one of those ferries you drove into, right? Like or did she? I would have like had blood like all in my car, or like some of my hair. Like I would have made it seem like somebody like chopped me up in little pieces. Like I think I would have waited till like the boat docked before I jumped or something. I don't know. Her plan was not that good. You know what it reminds me of? And one of the first show that we reviewed, Kevin Can F Himself, when the lady like faked her death by just like leaving her backpack in the woods. Like she had like all of these like crazy, like I'm gonna like be in his car and I'm gonna set the car on fire and I'm just gonna leave like a tooth in there. Like, it's just like crazy, like not well thought out death faking, So even though she's a con artist, she needs to tighten up her game a little bit.
Or just on her faking her death.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The way she manipulates people, she does good. But yeah.
So yes. So I'm excited to watch season 2.
You're gonna enjoy season 2.
To see what it entails, but I'm just based on like the episode and a half that I've seen, it's not at this point, it is not connected to season 1 because she's kind of going in her past to try to figure out who she was. And, she's trying to reconnect with her old girlfriend. She's trying to investigate her mom's death, all of these things. Like if Nick pops up, I won't be shocked because he is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's not about him.
But I see that as the connection between season 1 and season 2. I do like that they are so different. I wasn't expecting that, but they are so different. But it is still her trying to figure out who she is.
Right.
And so since she's originally from London, she's back in London.
So yeah, I can't wait for us to have that conversation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can't wait for you to watch it. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. If you guys have checked out season 1 of Surface, let us know your takeaways in the comments. We're always curious to know, like, if the things that you think about the shows line up to the things that, we say. So, like, feel free. Like, if you completely disagree with us, let us know in the comments. Like, we want to know. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
For the next episode, can't wait to get home and turn my TV on. I'm ready for the next episode. Got my snap shoes off, no remote control. I'm ready for the next episode.